This case remained sealed for 17 years, not because the suspect was unknown, and not because the evidence was incomplete, but because investigators agreed that releasing the full details would provide no public benefit. Case File 8841 documents the disappearance, unlawful detention, and death of 7 individuals in Red Hollow, Ohio, between February and April of 2006. The suspect, Thomas Kessler, was arrested alive. He confessed, he cooperated, and he never expressed remorse. What follows is a factual reconstruction based on police reports, forensic analysis, and recorded interview material. No interpretation has been added. Red Hollow was a declining industrial town. Factories had closed, unemployment was high, and police resources were limited. Missing persons reports were frequent, especially among adults with unstable housing, substance use histories, or limited family contact. These cases were rarely escalated. Individuals disappeared often enough that the absence of one more person did not immediately trigger concern. This environment allowed a pattern of disappearances to develop slowly. Without early detection, the first documented disappearance was Daniel Lyle. Age 34, he failed to report for a court-mandated probation check-in on February 3rd. 2006, his apartment showed no signs of forced entry. His personal belongings were intact. His absence was attributed to relapse within 6 weeks. 4 more adults disappeared from the same general area. Each had recently mentioned a temporary job or interview opportunity. None returned at the time. The cases were treated as unrelated. Detectives later discovered that all victims had responded to classified advertisements in the local newspaper. The ads were brief and consistent. They promised cash payment for private interviews. No experience required. The phone numbers listed were prepaid and regularly changed. Surveillance. Footage showed the same individual purchasing these phones over several weeks. He did not attempt to conceal his actions. He did not rush. The individual was identified as Thomas Kessler, age 52. He lived alone at 417 Morningside Drive. He had no criminal record. His employment history ended in 1996, when he was terminated from a hospital orderly position for boundary-related complaints. Neighbors described him as quiet, polite, and predictable. No visitors were ever reported. No disturbances were noted. When police entered Kessler's home, they noted an unusual lack of personal items, no photographs, no decorations, only functional furniture. The basement door was locked. After a warrant was obtained, officers forced entry. The basement had been structurally altered. Soundproofing covered the walls. Ventilation was restricted. 7 metal chairs were bolted to the floor. Lighting was constant and harsh. There were no windows. Blood residue was later confirmed to belong to multiple individuals. Police recovered 40 VHS tapes from a locked cabinet. Each tape was labeled with a name, date, and session number. The recordings showed extended interrogation sessions. Victims were deprived of sleep and water. Kessler asked repetitive questions in a neutral tone. He documented emotional breakdowns. Some sessions lasted more than 18 hours. The questions were not about crimes or money. They focused on abandonment, regret, and identity. Victims were asked when they realized no one was coming. They were asked who would notice their absence over time. Confusion and panic developed. Medical experts later concluded that the prolonged psychological stress led to cardiac failure, dehydration, and organ shutdown. Deaths occurred between 36 hours and for days. One tape documented the interview of Emily Harper, age 11. She disappeared while walking home from school. She was not restrained. She was told she could leave after answering questions. The interview lasted 9 hours. She died from dehydration and acute stress. Kessler was arrested days later without resistance. He waived legal counsel. He requested that interviews continue. Thomas Kessler was sentenced to 7 consecutive life terms. He never appealed. He never issued a statement. He died in custody in 2019 of natural causes. Of the 42 tapes recovered, 23 were permanently sealed due to psychological risk. The house was demolished. The recordings remain archived. The case is closed.